All right. Looks like we are live. Hello, everyone. Let me check settings real quick. Looks good. Audio looks good. All right. Should be all set. Just as a heads up, we are storming pretty bad over here out in Northern California, at least where I am. So uh, if anything buffers or goes weird, naturally just try to refresh. But on this end, everything looks okay. So good to see everyone. Welcome, welcome. Everyone had a Merry Christmas. As usual, I'm going to give it just a couple of seconds to allow people to get notified and come on in, join the party. But we will be getting started here in 2 shakes. I see we've already got a number of really good questions today. I am so excited for this live. This is going to be really good. Judging by the questions, this is going to be really good. Hello, hi. Hi, guys. Northwest Wind. Hello, sir. It's been a moment. I was just thinking about you the other day. Look how that works. Got a lot of returning faces and new faces alike. Hello, Serene Goddess. Hello, Thinking. Hello, Fabiola, Gracie. Night Snow Owl. Excellent. Happy Sunday indeed. I hope everybody is having a relaxing weekend. Last weekend of 2024. Everyone getting excited for the new year? I'm excited for the new year. On that note, let's just go ahead and jump on in. We've got about 60 people in here so far. I know that number is going to jump. And like I said, we've got a number of questions that I am excited to dive into. So again, welcome you guys. Thank you for being here, for joining on this lovely Sunday morning or afternoon, evening, wherever in the world you may be. And for another rendition of live Q&As, last one of 2024. We hang out, we talk about the law, talk about consciousness, manifestation, and my aim as always is to help you have better clarity and understanding so that you can take these teachings and apply them in your life to see the results that you want. A couple of quick things to note, and I've also seen a few people in the chat asking about one-on-one coaching. The waitlist just opened yesterday, and for those of you who may have run into any issues, rest assured, I will be getting back to everybody today. Upon setting up, I usually put the disclaimer, within 24 hours, you're going to receive welcome packet, more information, all of that stuff. So do be advised. I'm going to make sure to get to everybody who reached out. If you didn't receive the booking calendar, all that, make sure that it gets sorted. Do apologize if there was anything, any hiccups or anything like that. And was there anything else? That was really the main thing that I just wanted to announce, especially since I saw a couple people talk about it in the chat. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on in. I'm totally ready for the new year. Yes. Me too. Hello, Jackie. Happy to have you here. Also, congratulations about all of the wonderful changes that you noted. I got your update, and I love to hear it. And I'm excited to catch up here shortly. I think we're meeting New Year's Day, so that's going to be cool. Hey, Missy, your super chats aren't working. So, Gemma, I greatly appreciate you wanting to send a super chat. Much love. But I intentionally disabled the super chats. I want to, for a while I had them going here, but I want to make sure to sort of even the playing field as much as possible for those who may not be able to send a super chat or so Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate that. But here, I just want to make sure to have it be a place that people can come and ask questions and have as, good of a chance to get their question answered, regardless of they have money or not, basically. All right. Hi, Missy. I saw SP and third party for the first time, and I couldn't imagine SP with me anymore, as I think third party is better than me. So I feel hopeless. Oh, please give me some advice. Oh, yeah. I am so sorry. I know, especially when we see any kind of 3D confirmation or those kinds of instances can absolutely leave us feeling deflated. Um, and this is where the SP journey, especially, is to say it's a roller coaster really is an understatement. It's hard to even put it into words. Some of the peaks and valleys that we go through. If there is the feeling like third party is better than me, if you're noticing those kinds of thoughts and feelings come up, I would just, without judgment and, being as gracious to yourself as possible, just observe all of that and use it to, I guess, guide you going forward as like, this is something that I want to change within myself. The belief that this person is better than me, this person is, for whatever reason, we want to recondition that. We absolutely want to recondition that because number one, it's not true. it's just not objectively true. Even if something feels true, beliefs are never facts. They're not concrete, solid facts, even though it can feel like that to us. And that is where a lot of challenges come in because our beliefs can feel so much like truth with a capital T. But that's never the case. That's never the case. So, that may be indication of, I really want to focus on building my self-concept and focusing on being the very best version of myself and the version of myself who knows without any hesitation that, I'm the person like this, my SP is the person for me and vice versa. Like we are such a good fit and we are the most compatible couple and really helping yourself to get to a place where you feel more confident in that, where you feel more assured and certain about that fact. That's where I would be focusing my attention right now and not for the sake of the SP, like to be abundantly clear. Yes, I know that is ultimately the desire, but this is at the end of the day not about SP. This is about you. And this is about being and becoming the very best version of you. So that is where, redirection of my focus and attention will be going. Because I did have a lot of very similar types of feelings and insecurity on my own journey. I can very much relate to what you're describing. But number one, it's not fact. It's not true. It's old fears and insecurities coming up. And those can be reconditioned. Those can be changed ultimately. And making sure that the objective is for you and not even for your person. Yeah. Take care of yourself however you need. Put yourself first right now. Oh, and Merry Christmas. But if I didn't mention that earlier, I hope everyone had a wonderful Christmas, those who celebrated. If there's Angie, this is a really good question. Really good question. This one comes up a lot. If there's no one to change but self, how do we handle situations where we see in 3D our SP is texting less or saying they're busy, especially when our first instinct is to want SP to change? Good question. So And naturally, to be 1,000% clear, the reason that everyone is like, at least when we first come into this, find out about the law of assumption, our aim and desire is to see a change taking place in the external world. We want our circumstances to change. That's really kind of the main goal overall, initially. But what we're quickly going to find is that the only way that the 3D will change is is through the change in us. So when we say no one to change but self, in this context, when we want to see our person change, they're not texting as much. Maybe they're pulling back, they're hot and cold, and we want to see that behavior change. We'll see that behavior change when we change our perspective and our perception of them. So by no one to change but self, that means changing our perception, how we are looking and viewing other people. So again, in this context, instead of ruminating on the fact that they're not texting me, they're not reaching out, they're pulling back, they're being hot and cold, what's going on, we want to, in imagination, instead go to the place where they are attentive, they are showing up in the way that we desire to see them, they are prioritizing us, right? So you see, it's all how we are observing it. It's all through our own consciousness, right? We're experiencing this life through our own unique awareness. So we want to change that before we can expect a change to the outside. I hope that makes sense. So, because it is the change that takes place within you that results in the change in the external reality. But if we are just focusing all of our attention on them and trying to get them to change, we're focusing our attention on ultimately what we don't want. And we're reaffirming all of the things that we don't want. So I hope that makes sense. Yeah. Mhm. Hi, Missy. I recently thought maybe the key to mental diet is to be careful about all the information we absorb in every day. My mind has been very messed up with all kinds of loud thoughts. Um, Mental diet was completely impossible for me. Then I realized it might have something to do with me spending a lot of time scrolling through social media, news, short videos. Those information would eventually turn into random pop-up thoughts at some point. If we want to focus on the things that we want, maybe we should first avoid things that might lead to our attention to the parts we don't want, to isolate ourselves from the 3D we don't want. But it's hard to avoid um, absorbing in unwanted information. What's your opinion on this? 100% agreed. 100% agreed. Key aspect of mental diet is being mindful of what you are consuming, mindful of what you are giving your focus and attention to in your day to day. And Neville Goddard used to talk about this frequently. About we need to be mindful of what we are ingesting, what we are watching, the news. All of the terrible things going on in the world. These things are absolutely going to have an effect. That's what instills fear. It instills anger, and all of these states that we ideally do not want to occupy. Now, that's not to say that you need to cut yourself off social media and become completely isolated and be a hermit. We can still enjoy interaction on social media. There's still plenty of good things on the internet. Maybe just curating it a little bit, like like curating an algorithm that is going to be beneficial for you and your mental health, your well-being first and foremost. So that means, perhaps muting or unfollowing pages that are full of, terrible drama or things that are stressful or upsetting, uh, things of that nature, and instead maybe start following pages that are, more in lines of topics of spirituality or, if there are any causes that you're passionate about, um, you know, things that you want to get involved in. Like for myself personally, I want to help animals. I really feel like I'm here on this planet to help both people and animals. So, I follow a lot of rescue groups and just things like that. Things that motivate us and perhaps give us more inspiration, more hope, that kind of a thing. So it's not to say that you need to wipe social media completely out of your life, but just being more conscious of what we're ingesting, because it can absolutely have an adverse effect if it's always eliciting fear and anger, things like that. Yeah, agree 100%. Going back, hey, Missy, do you have any tips on finding a suitable technique? Personally, I find visualization more impactful on my subconscious, but less fun than affirmations. I don't know what to do. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, especially if we are new to these teachings, I do always recommend letting yourself experiment at first. Let yourself experiment with different techniques, different methods, different ways of imagining, and just see what maybe comes most naturally or helps you to capture that feeling more strongly. We can start with also utilizing our strengths. So if you are somebody who is a natural visualizer, maybe you have a very strong mind's eye and you imagine in pictures and can see more clearly, then visualization is probably going to be more suitable for you. Some people are more auditory; they hear inner conversation, inner dialogue, or monologue. In that case, utilizing inner conversations. Some people are a lot more intuitive and are more in feeling, not so much sight or auditory, anything like that. Um, you know, see what your strengths are and kind of play off of that. But to be clear, if you enjoy affirmations and visualizing, I mean, I don't see why you couldn't do both. I don't see why you couldn't, uh, combine them because we can use multiple techniques if it is helpful for us. I mean, at the end of the day, the techniques, no matter the technique, it all serves the same purpose, and that is, a stimulus to help us elicit a response. It's to elicit the feeling we're after at the end of the day. So there's no right or wrong way to approach it. Just start with your strengths and kind of experiment from there. Yeah. I thought you were on at 10 a.m. Happy to have made it. Yes, I know. I realized after the fact that I believe Christmas Day, I announced that I was going to be on at 10 a.m. and today was. I'm so sorry for that confusion, guys. I like 10 minutes before I was about to go live, I was like, oh damn it. I hope that didn't throw people through a loop. But glad to have you here. I'm glad you made it. Hello from upstate New York. Hello. Hey, Missy, how come some think against their desire for months but do one scene and get their desire? I thought it's a state we most often return to. How come some think against their desire for months but do one scene and get their desire? So, why is it that for some people they may have a very, opposite mindset, like their mental diet is naturally against their desire and they imagine once and they get it? To be abundantly clear, we are able to leave an impression and see it expressed, even if it doesn't go with our dominant beliefs and assumptions. Um, we do have the ability to do that. All it takes is for that seed to be planted and see it out pictured. Now, maintaining it is another thing entirely. And I should probably make a video going more into that. But like we are able to leave an impression, see something expressed, even if it does go against our dominant beliefs and assumptions. That is possible. But as far as maintaining that manifestation, yeah, that is where ideally we want our beliefs and assumptions to line up with our desired outcome. Yeah, and that's really more of my emphasis on this channel is long-term maintenance, long-term, like to be able to maintain that desired outcome. I mean, it sounds like a given, and it is, but yeah, yeah. I hope that makes sense. I definitely need to make a video talking more about that topic in particular. What's the longest a manifestation ever took you from time you did it serious without wavering? Um, what's the longest time manifestation ever took you from the time you mean from time of impression, acceptance to out picturing? I mean, I've had manifestations come to pass almost instantaneously. I mean, within seconds. That that has happened. Like I'll imagine a conversation, and then literally a few seconds later, I get a call and it's that conversation almost verbatim. So yeah, things can happen very quickly when in the right state, when in the right mindset. Hello, Missy. Happy Sunday. Is it necessary to have a perfect self concept to be able to manifest something? I have been working on my self concept and I can notice some positive changes. Um, Part two, detaching from negative thoughts and not feeling them as much as a threat because I don't identify them as before, but I feel that there are still some things to improve, although I don't know exactly what. And my fear is not being able to manifest what I want until I change completely. Um, that is an excellent question. And the short answer is no. We don't have to be perfect or have a perfect self concept. Not exactly sure what I take it you mean, like, do we have to have, a complete and total transformation before we can see things out pictured? No, not inherently. Um, Similar to the question that was asked earlier, we are able to leave an impression and see things come to pass, even if it doesn't line up with the dominant beliefs and assumptions. Um, if you were in the right state and that, the mind or that soil was ripe uh, for impression, we can see things unfold, and we don't want to. We want to be mindful of this kind of thinking. Like I need to be perfect before it will manifest, or before this or that. That kind of falls in the category of conditioning our desire, and that basically means conditioning your desire is when you are doing just that. You're saying these conditions need to be met before I can see something come to pass or before I'll be able to manifest. You know, I need to lose weight before my SP will come back to me. I need to, get rid of the third party, and then I could be with my person. We're focusing on the middle aspects. We're focusing on these conditions that say I can't have it until XYZ. We don't need to really get into that. We need to focus on is the end, is being the person, that version of us who already has it. And not letting ourselves get caught up in these conditions that need to be met. That being said, even if something does come to pass, like we don't want to then drop everything and totally forget everything that we've learned here. If you're noticing still perhaps some double-mindedness or old fears coming up even after the manifestation has come to pass, we want to make sure that we are continuing to turn back to the very best version of self and continue to go back and occupy that desired state until it is dominant, until that is our natural dwelling place, right? Yeah. So long-winded answer, but the short answer is no. We don't have to be perfect, and honestly, we're not perfect in our human form, and that's kind of the entire point. So you're good. Welcome back, Melody. Good to have you here. Going back up. Hey, Missy, I'm trying to learn how to meditate properly. How do you deal with distractions and intrusive thoughts while meditating? It's harder than I thought. Yeah. Yeah. Meditation sounds easy in theory, not always the easiest in practice. This is normal. This is normal. You're going to have intrusive thoughts. You're going to have distractions. That's normal. And the objective is not to get to a place where your mind is like completely blank. I mean, you may be able to get there, but more often we're really just taught to like direct our attention if we notice ourselves getting distracted. Like there's different types of meditation, I should say. There are many different types of meditation. So depending on like what your objective is, like what you're aiming to do in this meditation, or what you ultimately want the outcome to be, if you catch yourself getting distracted, just redirect your focus. Yeah, it is a practice. It is absolutely a practice, and it will. It is certainly illuminating when we see just how much the monkey mind is just spinning out of control. We're not consciously aware of it most of the time in the day-to-day, but when we sit down to do meditation, we become very obviously conscious of just how much our mind is all over the place. That is normal. That is normal. Just observe the thoughts, let them go by, and then redirect your attention back to either your breath or if there's a focal point that you have in meditation. But know that this is normal. It does get easier. It does. Hi, Missy. Hot and cold behavior is everyone as you pushed out. So if we're feeling a bit low or fed up, this will reflect in people around us. Can we change this state instantly? And will that then manifest instantly? Hot and cold behavior is everyone. Yes, it is everyone as you pushed out. If whatever we are feeling or assuming about the circumstances is what we will see outpictured. It is possible to shift into a new state. Absolutely. And you may notice instant change in the 3D around you. It's going to be different for everybody. But if you successfully make that shift, you will notice a change in what's going on around you. If I'm understanding your question correctly. Yeah. Hey, Missy. Oh, I love this question. Nellie, you always have the best questions, by the way. Hey, Missy, how can I let go of how we're taught we need to work to earn money and you have to work a job to live the life you want to live? I don't want to work to have an abundant life. Good question, because this is a very, very common belief. This is unfortunately something that I think has been instilled in most people. The idea that you have to have a job to make money, to get by, to live, and you need to go work to earn that money, blah, blah, blah. You have to work hard, all of that stuff. I was very much taught that. I very much subscribed to that idea for the longest time. And one thing that we can do and probably want to do is start to really question and challenge these beliefs. Just consciously first. Like really question, is this true? Like is this objectively true? The fact that we have to work hard to earn money, blah blah blah. And then what I quickly realized is the answer is no. You don't have to work hard to make a lot of money, um, just due to the fact that passive income is a thing, right? The fact that passive income exists just completely like it goes against that belief. Everything kind of falls apart with that belief. There are people that literally make money in their sleep. So the idea that you have to do this or that to earn a lot of money, getting a job, blah blah blah, like on its face, it's just not true. So, really starting to challenge these beliefs and really ask ourselves, is this a fact? And you're going to quickly find that the answer is no. So, that alone is going to likely lessen a lot of the resistance around it. Um, but most importantly, is continuing to go back to the state of abundance. If that is the objective, if that is the aim, then continuing to go back to that state, continuing to feel yourself in that state of abundance. However that looks for you. I mean, again, you don't have to know how it's going to happen or all of that. We never need to know the how. Just getting acclimated with the state of wealth and being wealthy and how that would look and feel for you. Yeah. Hi, Kelly. Thank you. Where was I? Where did I go? Hey, Missy, what's your biggest takeaway to create a sustainable relationship after manifesting your SP back? Good question. What is the biggest takeaway to creating a sustainable relationship? Good question. Um, the biggest takeaway, and I believe I have made a video touching more on this subject. For the life of me, I don't remember the title again. Um, Everything you need to know when manifesting an SP back. My biggest takeaway is that, as we've probably heard 1,000 times already, is that this is not, as far as our focus goes, as far as our attention goes, this is not about trying to change the other person. It's really not. Um, with everyone being us pushed out, it is how we are perceiving that person, how we are perceiving relationships in general. What are the views? What are we subscribed to? That is ultimately what manifests. I used to have the belief that fighting was healthy in a relationship, which is so ridiculous. Like when I say it now, it sounds so ridiculous, but I genuinely believe that. So, like, again, challenging these conceptions that we've had, these beliefs that we've had around relationships, and no, like, we do not need to continue to accept them. We do not need to continue to accept them, right? Yeah. So, I'm trying to remember the name of that video that I made talking about this in more detail. I'm so sorry. It's escaping me, but that's really, and I know we hear it 1,000 times over and over again, but with the fact that there is no one to change but self, like, really getting clear on what you are assuming and believing about yourself, about your person, and also remembering that this is the long game here. Like, once we get our person back, we don't just drop everything we've learned and go right back to giving all our attention to the 3D. Like, this is a lifestyle, and we want to treat it as such. So, continuing to imagine yourself as you desire to be, 70 times 7. Yeah. Missy, do we need to believe our affirmations or scenes, or can we just keep doing it and it will come true? Good question. I have made a video about this, about do we need to believe? And if you type that up in the Google search bar, Missy Renee, do we need to believe our manifestation? That should pop up. Uh, it, it's it's yes and no. It's not as black and white, because there are plenty of instances where we've had a random thought, we've just had something pop into our head, and then it manifests, right? Like, things that we may not have, like, just naturally assumed or believe. And as I mentioned earlier, like, we are able to do that. Like, if we are in a state that is ripe for impression, we can still very likely see that expressed. That being said, if after your manifestation comes in, after you see the 3D change around you, you're still noticing a lot of the old fears, the old doubts, maybe some of that old story, I would continue to go back to the end, go back to focusing on being the best version of you. Like, this doesn't stop when we get our desire. We're always manifesting. We are always, this law is operating whether we're conscious of it or not, whether we like it or not. So, and it's in the name, the law of assumption. So ideally, we want our beliefs and assumptions to line up with the desired outcome, what we ultimately want to experience. So if my desire is a loving, committed relationship with my specific person, but I perhaps have a lot of very limiting beliefs around relationships, and I feel very insecure within myself, that is what ultimately I want to recondition. That's what I want to change. If the person comes in well beforehand, then wonderful. But when we're talking about maintaining our desire, that's where it becomes more important. Yeah. Hope that makes sense. Ooh, where was I? Hi, Missy. My 3D looks worse than before I started visualizing and revising. Is it just because everything falling into place and things will become smoother when I persist? It's so discouraging. Oh, I know. I know. And this can happen. That this I'm not saying that it always does or that your 3D is going to look worse before it looks better, but it does often happen to people. We'll notice things seemingly falling apart. Uh, a lot of that is ego backlash. A lot of that is our natural subconscious resistance to change. Um, if you have not seen my video on ego backlash, I would definitely recommend checking that out. Um, but and I know it can be very discouraging. And however, it is important to continue to redirect back to the end as much, as often, and to the best of your ability. Things will inevitably fall into place if we continue to go to that end. Do not let yourself get sidetracked by the 3D. I know it's I know it's easier said than done, but try not to let yourself get discouraged or detract too much from your ultimate aim. Brazen impudence. It will get better. Otto's asking the big questions. Hi, Missy. So, how did we get here? Born here in the first place? Well, we've maybe not in this human form, obviously, but this, our consciousness, our awareness has always existed, will always exist. That is the eternal you. That is the you that will never die, so to speak. Yeah. So, how did we get here? God became man so that man could become God, to play this game of life, to explore himself, oneself. hmm I need to make a video about this topic too. I know that this is a big one. Yeah. But we're playing a role, like one aspect of consciousness, one perspective of consciousness, playing the role for the sake of experience and evolution ultimately. hmm Francesca, Missy, please do a video about brazen impudence and a meditation video on getting into the state of buying the pearl. That is a wonderful idea. Yes. Have I made a video about brazen impudence? I might have, but if I have, it's been a while, so excellent suggestion. Everything is chaotically changing in my 3D right now. Could this be a good thing? I would assume that it is. I would assume. Remember, it's ultimately what we are assuming, right? What we are perceiving and how we are assuming about the perception, whatever's taking place around you. So I would make sure to stick to the assumption that everything is falling perfectly into place for me. Everything, God is putting everything perfectly into place for me. hmm I second the brazen impudence video. I third. Noted. I am taking note of that. Hang on 2 seconds, guys. Okay, we're good. Something weird popped up, but we're good. All right, where was I? What are your thoughts on The Map of Consciousness by David R. Hawkins? We are the operant power above everything, but that means frequencies are no longer real, or can they be used along with our power? Um, Frequencies are no longer. Uh, I enjoyed the book. I enjoyed the book. I think that came out, or at least I read it over the pandemic, somewhere around there. Um, I enjoyed it. Uh, and for those who may not have read it, the map of consciousness, he talks about like the different paradigms of consciousness, like the survival paradigm, where what some may call like lower vibrations hang out. Bitterness, greed, anger, fear, um, and then like reason paradigm, and then spiritual. So it's basically you know the ascension of consciousness. Um, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Obviously, there were things that I didn't particularly agree with. There's some things that I did, um, but I guess I'm trying to understand the last part of your question. We are the operant power above everything, but that means frequencies are no longer real. Um, yeah, I'm a little bit confused of that part of your question. Um, I'm so sorry. I mean, if you're talking about like different states, or that the paradigms aren't real, I mean, I would in the broader sense agree that I mean, obviously there are different states of consciousness, and it is a transformation. Ultimately, it is sort of an evolution up the spiritual ladder, so to speak. Um, yeah. So sorry if I'm misunderstanding. Hi, Missy. You revised 200 plus memories. Can you tell me more about it? How did you visualize 200 plus scenes every day? Oh, no, 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 no. To be clear, I did not. It was not 200 in a day. No. Oh no. Um, I would do a couple a day. It depended on the day. Some days I could only really focus on one, maybe two. If I was very much like kind of in a rhythm, if I was kind of in a flow, then I would be able to revise several. But that this was an ongoing process for several weeks. Several weeks? Might have even been a few months. It was a while. Yeah, but to be clear, it was not 200 scenes in a day. Yeah. Jumping, 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 jumping. Hi, Missy. How's your day going? It's going well. It is going very well. Very well. Lazy Sunday. Well, got a bunch of emails and stuff to get to this afternoon, but otherwise, it's going to be a relaxing evening. I'm doing good. I hope you guys are too. Missy, Sats feels like a struggle as I fall asleep, but I do see my scene with SP and manage to feel that even for a few seconds before I fall asleep. Is this still implanted? Is this still leaving an impression? Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's all it takes. Even if it's a split second of that feeling, even if you're just capturing it for a brief moment before you fall asleep and taking it into sleep. Yeah, 100%. Hmm. Oh, Northwest Wind. Part one, overflowing and immersed in infinite love. So blissful. Infinite love is my life aspiration. Reflection is my person and I are romantically together now. She is truly my other half. Mm. Congratulations. Congrats, Northwest Wind. Oh, The way that you have spoken about her is so poetic, and this was inevitable for you. Congratulations. Mm. I love it. I love that for you. Mm. What? Oh, damn it, damn it, damn it. Jumpy chat, jumpy chat. Where are we? I don't see a part two. Oh, there it is. She still has her mental health difficulties slash extreme anxiety. I'm her rock and applying practical support, immersing in infinite love. Would love extra hype and motivation from you. Mm. Okay, I'm gushing, but Northwest Wind, I know that this has been an incredible journey for you, and the way that you have spoken about this woman is absolutely beautiful. This was inevitable. Like the union of the two of you was inevitable, and I've never questioned that from the start. But the fact that you are really leaning into that infinite love, that unconditional love is so beautiful, because I did that too. I did the same thing at a certain point, and I don't remember if I talked about this in my video, my SP video, but initially I just focused on love, on true, pure, unconditional love. And that was, I can't even put it into, I cannot even put it into words what that felt like. But that was a massive shift in my experience, a profound change in my experience. Like, it was no longer selective love, it was no longer conditional love. I felt it in every fiber of my being for everyone. I love this for you so much. And the fact that you are there for her, you're grounding her, you're continuing to hold her in the utmost regard, seeing her in the very best light. I love it. I absolutely love this for you. This year went so fast. It did. It did. Time's not real. Time is not real. Good morning, Missy. Since 3D is only a fictitious construct, why do our bodies age and ultimately end? Good question. Well, I mean, why do our bodies age and ultimately end? Well, that is the perception, right? Part of the human experience is that it is finite. Well, the appearance of finite, I should be clear. Um, but in truth, it's not that we go away or that we cease to be or that we age and ultimately end. As I was saying earlier, the essence of you, the true self, your consciousness, your awareness, the immortal you cannot ever die. Cannot ever die. And we will continue to come back and experience in this human form whatever we are here to learn, to grow, to evolve, until ultimately coming to the realization of who we really are. The promise, effectively, which is guaranteed. It is God's promise to everyone. You will awaken to who you really are one day. That will happen. But in that meantime, that is where we have the law. Learning to create worlds that are very best and loving and good rapport. Yeah. So it's the illusion of aging and ultimately ending. That's not in actuality what's happening here. Hi, Missy. Having trouble revising trauma as it's very triggering for me. Can I just create new memories without going over the actual events? Or is it better to go over what happened and then change it? And this is a really, really good question. Um, and I want to be very clear up front. I don't want to encourage people to do something that feels like maybe very upsetting or even, you know, detrimental to mental health. I don't want to encourage anyone to do anything harmful to themselves. Like if something feels too painful to revisit, even for the purpose of revising, then you can go about it in different ways. That being said, really the only way that we are truly able to revise any memory is if we first recall it. So when we recall a memory, there is a window, there is a period of a couple of hours where that memory becomes, what psychologists refer to as unstable, and that memory essentially becomes moldable. That's where it becomes malleable. That's where we're able to introduce the revised act and revised changes. Basically, that's when we can shape and mold the memory, and then it'll sort of reconsolidate, it'll settle back down in the memory banks as the new memory. But the only way that we're going to be able to do that is if we do recall it first. So if it is recollection of a bad memory for the express purpose of changing it, like that's the key difference. I know that there's a lot of aversion to the idea of revisiting bad memories. There's a fear of, oh, what if I just create this again? What if I just impress the seed over again? But the express purpose here is to change that. So it's not going to be ruminating on the same thing and having that settle back down, having that reconsolidate. You're reshaping the memory and ultimately changing it. So, and I do go over this in much greater detail in my revision masterclass, but essentially, that being said, if it feels like it's too raw, maybe it's been too soon, the memory is too painful to even approach, I don't want to say that you have to approach it right now. You can absolutely start with things that hold less emotional charge and things that maybe feel less significant or heavy, just for the sake of getting into the practice. Yeah. Where was I? Hello, sweet sloth. Welcome. Love from India. Oh, much love to you too. Hi from Northern Cali. Hello. Hello, neighbor. Hello from Northern California as well. Frank. Oh my God. Hello. I hope you are kicking ass on tour right now. If you are still on tour, we got to catch up soon. What was that? Hi, Missy. How do you ignore the 3D when we are constantly being reminded of the unwanted circumstances or home life? Yeah. This is probably where people have the most struggle, or definitely at least one of the areas in which people have the most struggle. How do we ignore the 3D when it's constantly in our face? Can feel very difficult to do. And naturally, depending on the circumstance, if it's home life, something that is naturally close to you, very close to you, it can feel downright impossible. So, but I have to be clear on what ignoring the 3D means, because I think this is where people get confused. It does not mean that you have to try to like pretend or be delulu about things where they are right now. Ignoring the 3D is the understanding that despite what is taking place right now in my physical surroundings, despite that, everything is subject to change. Everything. So just because things are appearing this way in this moment does not mean that it is going to continue to do so. Because unfortunately, a lot of people have that mentality. That mentality tends to be very wired in us. Oh, because it is this way, or it's always been this way, it's always going to be this way. And that's not true. That's not true. Creation is finished, and we are selecting states and moment to moment to moment to moment to moment to moment. So I would say if it is feeling difficult or if you're being constantly triggered or reminded of the unwanted circumstances, I would be practicing revision before bed. I would get into the habit of revising the day before bed. And I mean, I recommend that to everyone regardless. I think it is a really good practice to get into, but especially if you are noticing 3D circumstances and you're constantly having to be immersed in it and it's in your face and you're triggered often, that especially important to get into the practice of revising at the end of the day. Wholeness, I'm trying to understand your question. I have a question about feeling is the secret. So I read somewhere that if I feel inside feelings on the same frequency of abundance and security, I will manifest financial security. If I'm understanding your question, yeah, yeah, yeah. If you feel inside you are abundant, you're in the state of wealth, you're capturing the feeling of what that would be like, you will absolutely see that out pictured. Yes. Yeah. And if you haven't read that book, Feeling is the Secret, I would definitely start there. Oh, where did it go? Sorry, guys. Hang on one second. Question: before your SP came back in New Year's, did you struggle with Christmas? I've been visualizing Christmas with SP and living in the end for 2 months. It didn't happen and spent Christmas on my own. I feel crushed. No contact. Oh, I am so sorry. Yeah. Um, before your SP came back in New Year's, did you struggle with Xmas? So I take it you're referring to right before he came back? Because he came back shortly after New Year's. His birthday is shortly after New Year's. But that Christmas, I was okay. I was okay because I was in the Sabbath, effectively. I was in a place of I felt at peace, like genuinely at peace, because I knew that it was done. I knew it was inevitable. Um, the Christmas before that absolutely sucked ass. That one was tough. And I understand, of course, the holidays can be a particularly rough time. I mean, manifestation aside, it can be very challenging for a myriad of reasons, which certainly doesn't help. I would definitely recommend, if you have not yet, to revise and imagine still that the two of you spent Christmas together and how you would have wanted that to look, what you would have wanted to experience. Imagine waking up Christmas Day and there's presents under the tree and the two of you are laughing and drinking hot cocoa and unwrapping presents. However you would have wanted it to go, I would revise that. If it feels like it is, maybe is open to wound or is something that is a struggle right now, if you're noticing intrusive thoughts around that, I would revise. Yeah. And I know it can feel so crushing. Certainly is not easy. Not always easy. Yeah. But try to be as kind to yourself as you can right now. Try to give yourself as much grace right now. We're not always going to be perfect at this. Missy, can you please do a video on the promise? Yes, I can. I made it. I made a video on the promise, but admittedly it's a few years old, so I should do a new one. Yeah, absolutely. I know that's a topic that a lot of people get confused on. So, Missy, I have been living in the end and truly affirming, visualizing, etc. for all of 2024 for months, and the 3D hasn't changed. What to do for the 3D to actually change? Good question. I don't know. I did make a video recently talking about this, but just to kind of reiterate, if it has been, months or a year or however, we want to make sure that we're also paying close attention to what we are naturally assuming and feeling throughout our day to day. This is where self-observation becomes so important because it's not the techniques themselves that manifest. You know, us doing a technique a bunch of times is not going to guarantee our results. What is going to guarantee our results is the change in consciousness, the change in state, the change in how we are thinking, how we are naturally reacting, how we are naturally assuming. So we really do want to be mindful of what are the natural thoughts that are coming up to mind in the day to day? What am I finding myself reactive to, if anything? Am I feeling calm? Am I feeling at peace? Am I genuinely unbothered? Or am I noticing doubts, fears, uncertainties? Am I looking for evidence? And this is where, yeah, self-observation and being brutally honest with ourselves is a must in this practice. Because that's what is going to show you unequivocally what state of consciousness you are occupying. We can't lie to ourselves, right? So I would be paying close attention because if you are observant, you will see why things may not be showing up for you in the way that you want it to. Yeah. That way you will be able to course correct. Question: how do we manifest friends with wealth? How do we manifest wealthy friends? Same way we would manifest anything else. I would, whatever technique that you enjoy using, whatever method of imagining, visualizing, affirmations, whatever resonates most with you, I would be imagining a scene that implies that you have wealthy friends, right? Maybe you're, hanging out in Dubai. Maybe you're going shopping for, expensive clothes or items. Maybe you're riding on a private jet together. It's your world. Your imagination, that is your oyster. You can do whatever you want. Whatever you want. In thinking fourth dimensionally, please explain this. Quote, a change of concept of self automatically alters his future, and a change in any term of his future series of experiences reciprocally alters his concept of self. Good question. So, what Neville's saying there, um, essentially, a change in your self concept alters the future or what you are going to experience as far as this 3D is concerned. Basically, the change in self is what changes the outcomes that we experience, and vice versa. Those experiences are only going to uh, recondition or really cement that new concept of self, right? If I keep experiencing these desired outcomes, like it's only going to make me more of a believer. So it's going to continue to reinforce my new beliefs. It works both ways. Like when you change self, you're going to change the experiences that you have in the 3D. And as you experience those things in the 3D, it is only going to reaffirm your new self concept. It's only going to solidify it for you. Yeah. Thinking fourth dimensionally is an incredible read. I see a few questions here about how long it takes to manifest, and what to do if it's been taking a long time. Definitely check out the video that I made talking about this in more detail. It's like, I've, I think it's titled like Failure to Manifest or Why Things Take Long to Manifest, something along those lines. But kind of as I said before, if you're noticing that it's been a long time, months, years, whatever the case, we really do want to start paying closer attention to our mental diet. Don't try to just dismiss it. Don't try to, because we tend to run from our negative thoughts. We tend to try to ignore them. So we may not be aware of what state we are actually and truly uh, dwelling in. We may have no idea. We may think that we're doing everything right because we're doing a bunch of techniques, but we also may still have a lot of fear. We may still notice a lot of intrusive thinking, a lot of the old man thinking, and that is our gauge. Our reactions, our natural reactions, the thoughts that come up, that's all feedback. That's how we know what state we're occupying more often than not. And why I stress so much the importance of self-observation. Yeah. Oh dear. I have to spend this evening with SP who friend zoned me years ago and his girlfriend, and I'm triggered. Mm. Any advice? How do I enter the wish fulfilled? Some scene ideas? I want to be satisfied. I am so sorry. I mean, if you are intent on going, if you are insistent on going, um, which obviously can't tell you what to do, but if it is your aim to go hang out tonight with SP, I would be making sure to help try to get myself in as relaxed of a state as possible beforehand. Really try to ground yourself and center yourself to the best of your ability beforehand. and, maybe hype yourself up, do a rampage, remind yourself of how fucking awesome you are and how you know that you are the very best person for your person, and anything like that that can really help to get you charged up, and seeing how, depending on how it goes, if need be, revise at the end of the day, if need be. Don't go in assuming that it's going to be terrible or anything like that. But know that you do have revision for whatever may happen. You have a powerful tool in your arsenal. Do not be afraid to use it. But really, to the best of our ability, we do want to avoid putting ourselves in circumstances that could be upsetting, reinforcing the old story, things like that. So, do whatever you would like, but just make sure that you are really focused on grounding yourself to the best of your ability if you do decide to go. Let me see. Oh, thank you, Robin. Oh, you are sweet. Do we have to take action? Not intentionally. No. Like, will you need to consciously plan and take action from there? No. No. Whatever action takes place will be inspired. And I've made a couple of videos talking about inspired action, but all you're doing consciously, the only thing that you're doing is in here. You're going to the end. You are continuing to go to that end until you feel it's done, until it is no longer even necessary to do so. You feel completely satisfied and like you don't need to keep imagining. That's it. You will be naturally led on a bridge of events. Bridge of incidents will unfold for you. We don't know what that looks like. We don't know when. We don't know how. We don't know any of that. But you will be moved if need be. Hey, Missy, I agree 100% when you said that seeing movement tends to throw us back to old assumptions. How do you do old self personal work, or how to face the old self when it appears? Good question. When that old man comes back? Yeah. I mean, once again, this is where observation is so important. And, watching the thinker, as I think Eckhart Tolle put it, just being aware of the thoughts, the assumptions, the reactions that you're having. And if you are noticing some of those old ways of thinking coming back in, it's just indication that we want to continue to go back and reinforce that new belief, reinforce the new self, going back to the scene of being the very best version of you and continuing that experience until it feels so second nature to you. 70 times 7, as much and as often as we need. Yeah. Happy New Year to you too. Tracy, oh my goodness, good to see you. Good to see you. I successfully manifested my SP sobriety, got into the state of someone who is in a safe, stable, healthy, loving relationship and environment. Imagined him healthy and sober. It's been 6 months. Tracy! Oh my God. Oh my god, that makes me ridiculously happy. Congratulations. Good. Good. I fucking love that for you. Oh, thank you, Michelle. Oh my goodness. Thank you. Would love more hypnosis videos. Yes, yes. So I do in the new year, I've already kind of naturally started to make lists and ideas of things that I want to come out with. There will be more guided meditations, hypnosis, things of that sort. That is coming. That is coming. Hi, Missy. Hope you're doing well. Can you explain Neville's quote, "The signs always follow, they never precede"? Thank you. Yes, absolutely. And I have made a video talking about this one, about signs, uh, because I know this quote can get kind of confusing. Basically, what Neville's saying here is that the signs of your manifestation are going to follow the manifestation itself. So you're going to be able to see in hindsight how everything unfolded. Maybe if there were signs, you'll see them in hindsight. Like the signs of your manifestation will follow the outpicturing of it. They do not come before because we're basically manifesting in moment to moment to moment to moment, right? Like each moment is like a blank slate, and we're selecting a state, we're selecting a reality. So seeing a sign is not in and of itself indicative of the outpicturing of it, because in each moment we might select something different intentionally or unintentionally or things like that, which is why we really don't want to get ourselves caught up in signs if we can help it. If they are helpful, like I understand, giving meaning to things can be encouraging and boostful, and if that's the case, I'm not going to say, you know, don't enjoy the signs uh, if you find them helpful. But basically, what Neville's saying here is you're not going to really see something like before it comes to pass. That a sign is essentially it is a manifestation in and of itself. It's something that was impressed and it's being outpictured. He's essentially reinforcing go to the end, continue to go to the end. Don't get caught up in signs out here. Yeah. How do you keep picking yourself up when no movement with SP? I was so strict, visualized so much the last 2 months. I'm shocked Christmas didn't plan out how I wanted. Tears, no movement. I'm baffled. I know. I know it can be absolutely infuriating, frustrating when things are not unfolding in the way that you want them to. Definitely check out the video that I made. It was a recent video. It was maybe a few videos back, talking about, why there are cases where it takes years and nothing is manifested, and how we want to address it, how we want to, you know, how we want to redirect so that we can really start to live in that end and see things go the way that we want it to. How do you keep picking yourself up? Honestly, it was tough. I would say that there was over a year where I was doing the same chasing, same trying to affirm, trying to imagine, trying to get him. But that was the problem. I was continuously focusing on trying to get him, which in and of itself, like that mentality in itself is a state of lack. It's a state, it says, I don't have this. right? If I'm trying to get something, that explicitly implies that I don't have it. So to the subconscious, that's what is being accepted and ultimately continuing to be outpictured, which is why, again, we really got to be mindful of what we're doing here in our day to day, especially the intrusive or unconscious thoughts that come up, the random thoughts that come up, how we are reacting. Like that's going to tell us definitively what state we're occupying more often than not. There's a really, really common misconception that, just because we're doing this technique a bunch, that alone is going to guarantee our manifestation. The techniques are just tools to aid us in getting into that end state, to getting into that feeling state. But doing a technique a bunch of times is not in and of itself going to guarantee anything. It's how we are feeling. It's what we are assuming. It's how we are perceiving ourself, our person, everything in between. One of the things that kept me going was the desire for change. I wanted to change. I wanted to be different. At a certain point, it wasn't about my person anymore, because whether it would be him or somebody else, if I remained the same, it was going to be the same old, same old, same old. I was going to find myself stuck in feedback loops indefinitely. And that was like that was the motivation for change. Yeah. Yeah. But do also make sure you're being kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. It's no easy feat sometimes. Hi, Missy. Did you ever find that sometimes the most movement in our 3Ds comes after we've unintentionally manifested something not great and worked to revise it? It sucked, but something shifted after. I've had that experience. Yes. Yes. That's revision is powerful, powerful stuff. I will never shut up about it. I will never shut up about revision. I'm telling you. I can credit revision to the vast majority of the improvement that I made. Like who I am today, mostly due to revision. Yeah. I'm glad to hear that you're noticing that shift. How do you face your old self or even old story if it threatens to pull you back in? Good question. How do you face your old self? Well, the idea, I mean, the ideal is that we don't continue to go back and face our old self, that we, to the best of our ability, continue to put the attention and focus on what we do want, how we want to experience this world, how we want to feel. Most importantly, how do I want to feel? Like that should be the go-to question at all times. How do I want to feel? But that said, if you do get triggered, if something does come up and you're facing that old man again, it's old concepts. It's old, knowing that first and foremost, like this is just an old story. This is just an old pattern. This doesn't have any meaning or significance beyond what I give it. It only has the meaning and significance that I give to it. It's old news. It doesn't matter. It genuinely and truly does not have any bearing on what is possible for me, what I can experience, what I am able to do, and who I am able to become. Period. Also, Laura, I saw your message earlier. If you could be so kind as to resend me your email. If something fell through the cracks, I am so sorry, but I do want to make sure that that gets addressed. So if you can just do me a huge solid and resend that so it's at the top of the inbox, I'll be sure to check on that today. And I am, once again, I am so sorry, but before I forget, my question is about health. My mom is very sick at home from stage 4 cancer. Everyone is looking at her and talking about her like she's dying. I feel in my heart this can change. Mhm. I've manifested my SP back and solidly and manifested our baby, but I'm having trouble with my mom's health. Uh, yeah. Health can be a tricky topic. It can feel very difficult to accept something that goes against, doctor's orders or societal conditioning. What if people around us and how they're reacting and responding? I know it can feel very, very difficult to remain steadfast in seeing your mom healthy again, seeing her better again. But as much and as often and to the best of your ability, see your mom illuminated, see her as glowing, see her radiant, just like fill your consciousness with the image of your mom just in perfect health, laughing, smiling, jumping up and down, whatever that looks like for you. Whatever that looks like for you. And again, I know it's tough when everything in our surroundings is telling us the opposite is true, that, these are the circumstances. I know it's tough to try to imagine something different, but we must. We must. Because you're absolutely right. It does not need to be accepted that this is the final outcome, that this is inevitable or anything like that. I have seen people like miraculous change. I have seen people heal from ailments that should not have ever been possible. There is no impossible. Not an exception. Stay steadfast. See her as completely radiant. And you've got this. And congrats, by the way, on your SP and your baby. That is beautiful. And I love to see it. Marie, good morning. The last Sunday of the year, indeed. What was my spot? Ugh. I ran into SP last night. He invited me to join him and his brother. He bought all my drinks. It was a fun, carefree night. This is the beginning to the end scene. Carrie, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Yes. I love the Chronicle updates. What was the biggest difference for you between before and after you finished all 4 of your promise experiences and realized it? Good question. Also, Sarah, I did see your email, and I am going to get back to you on that because I'm so excited for you. The biggest difference for you between before and after? God. That's a really good question. I think that the biggest difference is I've always kind of had this knowing my whole life that there's more to this life than what meets the eye. And I have had some mystical experiences and things I could not explain. But after the promise, there is always this, it's hard to put it into words, presence, just that very subtle but powerful knowing is always there. And even in times where, getting caught up in the human moments, getting caught up in this world of Caesar, even despite that, it's always there. It's an assuredness. It is, I mean, that is God. That presence is subtle, but always there. And it is more noticeable and more powerful than ever. I'd have to say that that has been the biggest difference. It is raining like crazy. I don't know if you guys can hear that. My apologies if it's annoying. I spoke my mind to SP via text after being ghosted. Kind of regret it. I don't know how or what to advise. I'm not sure she even got those texts. I mean, I think we've all been there. I think we've all been there. Don't beat yourself up. Don't give yourself a hard time. Sometimes we explode. Sometimes we need to get it off our chest. Sometimes we tell people off. Yeah. I would revise it. I would absolutely revise. Perhaps instead you can imagine that the two of you are having a lovely conversation instead of that happening. Regardless, we don't want to accept that that's the final outcome, right? We don't want to get ourselves fixed on that. And as Neville Goddard said, like, if you need to explode, explode. Just don't let the sun descend upon your anger. So basically that means if we need to get it off our chest, if we have a blow up, if we snap, okay, it happens. We're human. But don't let the sun descend upon your anger. Don't let that stay as its final form. Revise it. Imagine instead how you would have wanted to experience a lovely interaction, making plans to meet up, whatever the case may be. Yeah. Love the sound of rain. I do too. I do too. Is gratitude the same as the feeling of the wish fulfilled? I would say. Because how would you feel if what you once desired was now yours? It would probably feel like gratitude. It would probably feel like relief, right? Satisfaction, but definitely gratitude. There would definitely be a thankfulness there. So, yeah. What is 70 times 7? So 70 times 7 is an allegory in the Bible. It's basically a reference to persisting. It's not meant to be taken literally, like 70 times 77 times. It's the allegory is like to continue to go there to that end scene until it is fixed as though nailed by a sword. So basically, we continue to go to the end until it is fixed for us, until that is just what we naturally and dominantly go back to. So yeah, 70 times 7 is persistence, basically. Going back up. Ariana's got a really good question. How do you make something feel natural when you've never really experienced it? I feel like I'm stuck in an endless loop manifesting the opposite because the opposite is what feels natural. This is an important question because this is why we tend to manifest what we don't want because what we don't want is the thing that feels natural to us. That's what feels normal to us. Like we don't by default manifest our desires, we manifest what feels natural and normal and familiar to us. So if you have not experienced your desire before, like ultimately that does not matter because even if you haven't experienced it in the 3D, you are able to imagine what that would be like. You can experience it in imagination. And if you need some, like, you can help by asking yourself questions and getting familiar with it. You can play with the idea of it. So, for example, let's say you desired marriage to your SP, but you've never been married. You have no idea what it would be like to be married. Well, you can probably come up with the idea of what it would be like. So, for example, the two of you would probably be sharing a home together, probably sharing a bed together. You would probably be, you know, telling each other about the day after work. You would be wearing a wedding ring, assumingly. So you're playing with the concepts of what it would be like for you and just letting yourself get more familiar with the idea of it. Same thing with abundance. That's another common one that a lot of people want to manifest. Even if we have never been wealthy in the 3D, we can still imagine what certain things would be like if we were wealthy. We'd have a nice house, nice car, you know, maybe a plane, a private jet. You can go nuts, but get familiar with the idea of what that would look like for you. Because we have two types of imagination. Well, many types of imagination, but for simplicity's sake, we have two types of imagination: synthetic imagination and creative imagination. Synthetic imagination is what we use about 99.9% of the time as adults. And that's basically a regurgitation of the same old experiences, memories. We're not letting ourselves entertain anything new. But we also have creative imagination, and that is our ability to imagine things outside of what we have experienced in the 3D. So just because I have never experienced, traveling to Tokyo, I can imagine and put myself in the place where it starts to feel like I am in Tokyo. And you can do this with anything. Your creative imagination is your creative power. That is your ability to go anywhere and do anything in here. And I've made a video talking about this in more detail. I would definitely check that one out if you have not yet. Just type in Miss Renee, two types of imagination. Mina, hello, happy holidays. Good to have you here. It was my spot. Missy, have you had any comment on the energetics of the desire and matching it, or is it just a new way of saying being in the state? I hear this referred to like it's an important thing. I think BS. Comment on the energetics of the desire. It sounds like another way of saying being in the state. Yeah, I would agree. Like matching the energy or frequency or vibration and all that. Essentially, that's, yeah, being in the state. At least that's how I'm taking it. Let's see. Can there be conflicting manifestations? Example, if I'm manifesting my SP back, who I truly want to be with, but there is another student who may be trying to manifest me as their SP. Rest assured, we can put the notion to bed of other people manifesting us. That's that's not a thing. That's not I mean, if we believe that is true, if we believe that other people have the power to manifest us, then we can certainly manifest that experience. But at the end of the day, you are still the operant power. There is nothing outside of you that has power and ultimate veto control over you. Ever. Ever. Ever, 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 ever. Yeah. So you can put the notion to bed of anyone trying to manifest you. Not unless you want that to be the case. I've realized that the small things I quickly manifested was because it felt natural. I was already at the end. No focus on the how or when. Is that right? Bingo. Bingo. Exactly right. Yeah. You weren't double minded, right? That is exactly correct. Hello, Ming. Hello. Hi, Missy. It's Ming. My new SP just asked me to drive to his place and spend the night with him. I refuse because I know I deserve to be respected. But what is it in me that get reflected like that? Um, well, I mean, number one, kudos to standing up for yourself and what what you believe in and how you want to be treated. Good on you. What is it in me that got reflected like that? So how did you manifest that? Is what you're asking? I mean, has there been thoughts that he only wants me for one thing, or he's only after one thing, or basically I would be checking mental diet, right? What have you been dwelling on as far as this new SP is concerned? Like, how have you been perceiving him, and how have you been perceiving the two of you and the dynamic between the two of you? That will illuminate why people are showing up in the way that they are. But ultimately, if it's not what you want, revise it. Revise it. Hi, Missy. I've been mainly focusing on my I amness, and it's made manifesting weird. I still have desires, but I don't care if they manifest. Can I be too detached? Um, I don't know if I'd call it too detached. That there certainly does come a point where, I'm not, saying that this is your experience verbatim, but I know for myself, certainly things that once felt so important and had so much gravity uh, no longer had that kind of power when it came to the external circumstances, when it came to things on the outside. It didn't it didn't have the same weight. And then that certainly is something that happens when you focus on your I amness, your consciousness, your true self, right? Realizing that everything else is just a garment, everything else is just, it's not at a certain point it won't have the same degree of like urgency as it once did. And I wouldn't call this a bad thing, because you will get to a place where you're like, I don't need anything external for my own well-being and happiness. These things are lovely. They're enjoyable. We're having a 3D experience, so why not enjoy it? They're nice, but I am not like depending on it anymore, if that makes sense. And again, I'm not sure if you're at this place or this is what you're describing, but this, yeah, inevitably you'll reach a place where you will have that understanding that it's all coming from within you. The source of everything you could ever want or need is within you. Yeah. I got time for maybe one or two more. Hi, Missy. Can you please clarify if SATS is always meant to be experienced as a lucid dream or not? Can SATS also be feeling sleepy and repeating an affirmation? Yeah. So to be abundantly clear, you can use an affirmation when you're in the drowsy state. A lot of times, what may start as like an affirmation or a thought might turn into a scene. Like a scene may come to you naturally, but that's not to say it's going to every time or anything like that. Uh, yeah, I don't want to give the impression of like you're failing if you don't reach that place of vividness. My point of that video was to say that your imagination is so much more powerful than you may realize, and that our capabilities are so much bigger than we may realize. Um, and to really not just lean on the like conscious thinking muscle to try to pull the weight, using the ego to pull the weight, when it's our I amness, it's consciousness. Like that is the creator. That is the creative power. Yeah, but if when you're in that drowsy state, if just repeating an affirmation, it essentially the lullaby method. If that helps to get you to a feeling of satisfaction and enjoyment, then absolutely do that. Absolutely do that. I just wanted to clarify some things in that video because I don't know if people understand. Neville maybe didn't do the greatest job of explaining stats, um, which is okay. Nobody's perfect, not even Neville. Neither am I. Neither is anyone. Missy, can you please do house tour? Yes, yes, that's right. I forgot to announce that earlier. House tour is going to be on Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve now. It got pushed to New Year's Eve. It was going to be over the Christmas holiday, but ended up having last minute travel plans and all that fun stuff. So yeah, New Year's Eve, I'll be going live. You'll come hang out with me and check out my place, and we'll do maybe more Q&A stuff and just hang out and have a good time. How did you deal with the fact that there's only you? Does anyone feel a bit sad when they think about it's all just your projection? Exciting but sad in a way. I used to feel like this, but what I quickly realized was that instead of just looking at it through the lens of like it's only me, like there's nothing else out there, it's that everything is out there because I am one with everything. So when we say it's just me, we're not talking about the ego, like it's only Missy Renee and nothing else. No, 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 no. No. When we say there's only you, like there's only consciousness, but that is all things, that is everything. So with that perspective shift, yeah, yeah. We're certainly not alone because there is no separation. Mhm. Does the revision have to be specific memories or incidents from the past? Can I tell a general new narrative about whole childhood as revision instead of specific memories? Yes, you can. This is an important question. We revision is not exclusive to just specific memories of things that did happen. You can construct a whole new narrative. You can construct whole new memories. And that's the beauty of it. There are no limits because you are effectively the screenwriter of your life. You can take out entire scenes, insert new ones entirely. It's your world. It's your oyster because memories are just imaginal acts. Nothing more, nothing less. So yeah, you can outline, you can construct a brand new narrative about a whole section of your life and how you would have wanted it to go. 100%. 100%. Yeah. I go into that a lot more also in my masterclass, but 100% you can. Oh, dang it. I want to keep hanging out because I could hang out here forever, but unfortunately, I do need to get going. I'm noticing the time. Got a ton of emails and things to catch up on this afternoon, but I want to thank you guys so much for being here. Lovely as always. Amazing questions today. I want you all to take care of yourself. Have an incredible New Year's ahead. If you're free on New Year's Eve and want to join, I will be going live that day too. But in the meantime, everybody, do take care of yourself. Much love to each and every one of you. And as always, don't forget how powerful you are. I loves.